In Fishkill, New York, the Fishkill Supply Depot was a key strategic center of the American Revolution, established and visited repeatedly by General George Washington. Known as the military nerve center of the Continental Army, the depot is one of three major encampments along with Morristown and Valley Ford. Hallowed history happened here. Hundreds of original soldiers who fought to found our nation died and were buried in unmarked graves. At its height, the encampment, built under orders from George Washington, was a small city which included extensive barracks and officers' huts for thousands of soldiers, guardhouses, a palisade, a prison, a major hospital, artillery placements, storage buildings, an armory, blacksmith shops, stables, parade grounds, and a powder magazine which supplied all of Northern Patriot forces. Today, the only remaining structure is the Van Wyck Homestead, originally a farmhouse which served as a headquarters for military operations. The homestead was visited by numerous dignitaries such as the Marquis de Lafayette, Alexander Hamilton, and John Jay. Here also occurred the mock trial of Continental spy Enoch Crosby, upon whose exploits James Fenimore Cooper allegedly based protagonist Harvey Birch in his novel, The Spy. Today, the home contains original woodwork, archaeological relics from the depot, 18th and 19th century furniture, and portraits by noted itinerant painter Ami Phillips. Displays also highlight various colonial crafts, including woodworking and weaving.
My name is Steve Lynch. I'm president of the Fishkill Historical Society, and we took ownership of this house in October 1962. During the Revolutionary War, dozens of Revolutionary War heroes were here in this homestead. We have George Washington, Marquis de Lafayette, Alexander Hamilton, Israel Putnam, Baron von Steuben, and John Jay were all here.
Soldiers coming through the Fishkill Supply Depot, they're bound to leave a lot of stuff, materials. And if you look at this display case, what archaeologists have found over the years are gunpowder bags, pipes, molds for making muskets, and bayonets. So these are all things that a soldier would have used and sometimes would have dropped and have been found hundreds of years later.
Soldiers who did something wrong had to be punished, and they would be tied to the tree and lashed for punishment. And when a tree fell down in 1894, inside the tree they found this metal ring, and this was the size of the tree in 1776, and they attached the metal ring to it. And over the years the tree grew out, and it got to be 6 feet in diameter. And when a tree fell down, it was being cut up furniture and firewood. They actually found 4 of these, 2 down where the legs would have been tied and 2 where the hands would have been tied. All right? And this confirmed that this was the old whipping tree, which was right outside here. And when someone was being whipped, they brought all the soldiers around to watch.
The original house dates back to 1732. So what you're sitting in, or what you're standing in right now, is an original room with an original fireplace and beehive oven, and this would have been used throughout the occupation of the house itself by headquarters of the Continental Army. So you're literally standing in history.
You've heard the expression, the upper crust of society. That comes from the bread oven. When you made the bread on in the bread oven here, the bottom of the bread would be hard and burned and black perhaps. So if you had guests, what you would do is you would cut the bread in half and give your guests the upper crust. So they would have the nice brown toasty part, and you would have the hard burned part at the bottom. Right, this is an old Dutch house, and the old Dutch houses had these Dutch doors. At the top would swing open, but the bottom stayed, oops, hey, how you doing? The bottom stayed shut. And the reason for that was, number one, it lets in more light, lets in the airflow, but the bottom here keeps the animals out, and people like this who are soliciting, and it keeps the 2-year-olds and 3-year-olds in, so it's a multifunctional door. And this is an original door going back to 1732.
One of the most compelling stories of the Van Wyck house is the mock trial of Enoch Crosby. Enoch Crosby was a spy, an American spy, that pretended to be a loyalist. And he was taken captive with another group of loyalists. He was put on a mock trial, probably in this very room, and sent to prison in a local church, the Dutch church in Fishkill. So many important things happened here, including this spy Enoch Crosby and his story.
This is a reconstructed bread oven. There were 10 of these ovens, supplying about 2,000, 4,000 troops maybe in the summer. So a lot of hungry troops around need good bread ovens. So we just came from the Van Wyck homestead, and that was the headquarters of the Fishkill Supply Depot, which was a massive supply depot that was the equivalent of Valley Forge. And over time, the site has diminished in historic importance because of commercial development, and people have forgotten their history. This is one of the largest military establishments in the entire country at the time. There would have been at least 4,000 soldiers here during the summer. There would have been barracks, there would have been a hospital, stables, officers' quarters, literally one of the largest settlements on the entire eastern seaboard.
Located directly behind me is one of the most interesting sites in all the American Revolution. It's the Soldier Cemetery of the Continental Army's Fishkill Supply Depot. Now, you've already heard earlier in this video about the Supply Depot and its functions, and how it supplied and provided materiel to the Army fighting in the field, which made the war effort essential. But what makes this site unique, and this burial ground in particular, is that because it's attached to the Fishkill Supply Depot site, it's the area where men who died and perished during the Revolution throughout its 7 years are buried. That includes those who died of disease and were treated in the hospitals at Fishkill. It included men who fought at Monmouth, Saratoga, and White Plains, and were carted to Fishkill to be treated in its hospitals. At that time, wherever you died is where you were buried. And because we know that men from as far south as North and South Carolina, and as far north as Massachusetts fought in those battles, we can bet that based on the records, men who perished are located here in this burial ground.